Welcome everybody inside Home Ice with David Quinn. I'm Michelle Gingras alongside Steve Valiquette and Rangers head coach David Quinn. And guys, coming up on the show today, we're just a few days away from the start of training camp. So coach, we're hoping to discuss with you just how you want to have your players ready, both mentally and physically, when it gets time to start playing games again. We'll also, as always, check in on Twitter later on in the show to get your questions answered. And today you're breaking down the Rangers power play inside the film room. So lots to get to today. And as I was just prepping for this show, I realized it's July 4th weekend, which there's been certain periods throughout this whole time where I feel like I've had surreal moments. Like, I can't believe we're talking about hockey. I can't believe we're here in this current time and in our world. And this was another one for me. Can you believe that in just a few days, you're going to have players on the ice getting ready for the return of hockey, when normally during this time you're just thinking about maybe where you're going to watch the fireworks?
Yeah, thinking about where my next golf match is going to be or what beach I'm going to go lie on. But, it's usually this is the time you're probably doing a little bit of reflection on your season, and you're in halfway between, your season ending and training camp starting. But obviously these are different times, and this is certainly this is really a different time in the hockey world. As you said, Michelle, we're getting ready to prepare to pick up where we left off on March 11th. And I know our guys are excited. They've been filtering back to the training center. Guys have been on the ice more and more. And we're getting closer and closer to having that field again, practice started again.
Quinny, after we wrap up the show, are your feet back in the sand, or are they going to be back into a set of skates? Where are you next?
Well, probably in a set of skates. I think we're getting, I'm starting to get out of golf mode. I'm starting to get out of beach mode, and it's starting to get into the hockey season. So it's amazing what happens. The closer you get to the day we're actually going to start up again, you sleep a little less. You're a little bit more on edge. It's just a profession. But, we're all very, very excited to get started again.
We've said on the show before that hockey season never really ends anyway for you. You're always kind of thinking about what's next. It never completely turns off. So it's probably somewhat of a natural feeling for you to be back in those skates again. And we know that you've been going to the training center. So just be our eyes and ears. What have you seen? What's maybe surprised you, and how have you taken it all in?
Yeah, it's been fun to see the guys, obviously, being away from them so long. The guys, just like I said, are starting to filter in. I think we've got everybody here as of now. Guys obviously going through the proper protocol of when they can skate. Some guys are already out. Most of our guys have been cleared. We still got guys waiting from a quarantine standpoint. So, but, you can sense the excitement from our guys. They've had some really good skates lately. Probably a big part of that is because I can't be out there, so they're taking advantage of that. But I just think excitement is the word. I mean, this is unlike any opportunity that the NHL has offered us. When you've got 24 teams fighting for the Stanley Cup right now under these circumstances, this is a unique opportunity, and I think our guys realize that.
Quinny, for close to 17 years, I went to NHL training camps, and there's always some anxiety leading up to it, just hoping that you're in the physical condition you need to be to play. One stands out. It's John Tortorella's, where he would have us skating tests 2 different ways. 14 laps was one of them, 3 sets of 14 laps. The other one was 6 laps around the ice, and you had to do 6 of those. So that was the conditioning. If you could accomplish that under a certain time threshold, you were deemed in shape. Is there anything that you use to maybe scare the players to physically be ready? Because we've talked about the mental component. And what kind of tests are you going to possibly use?
Well, right now, we've talked about that, Steve, about where we're at. And I don't equate this to a training camp. I know everybody's used the word training camp, but to me, it's practice. This isn't, we don't have time to have a training camp. One of the things that we've talked about doing is we need to hit the ground running, and we've got to pick up where we left off, and we've got to run practices, obviously conditioning. This is going to be such a different time because you're going to have such a disparity with a conditioning standpoint from your players, because some guys have had opportunity to continue to work hard and have access to things that other guys haven't. So this is really going to be unique, and we really have to be cognizant of the fact that every guy's going to be in different shape, because guys have had different access to different things that they've been able to do during this 3.5-month time. So, this is going to be different. This is not training camp. This is practice. And, obviously we're going to gauge everybody's body fat and their weight and things like that. But, in fairness to the players, guys haven't had the chance to really get after it the way they do before training camp in a normal setting.
All right, so we're not calling it training camp, but heading into, I guess, this next segment before games actually start, who do you think will come in of the guys that have been able to skate maybe in the best shape and ready to go? Not to put anyone on the spot, but if you had to.
Yeah, be careful how you answer that one, Chris.
Yeah, I think they're all going to be in phenomenal shape. I'm sure they all did exactly what they should have been doing during this time. But, there's guys that just naturally are in great shape all the time. And again, it's just, Kreider obviously has had access to things other players haven't. He's been here the whole time. He's been the minute that these guys, we've had about 5 or 6 guys that have been able to skate from the minute that the NHL allowed it to. So, those guys are going to have a little bit of an advantage. The Stalls, the Smiths, the Kreiders, guys like that, Panarin, guys like that. And also the guys over in Europe, who've been on the ice. So, I think it's going to be the guys that have had a chance to be on the ice for an extended period of time. They're going to be a little bit ahead of the game.
Quinny, my time with the Rangers, the team never referred to it as this, the coaching staff or the management, but the players did. And we called it the Fat Club. So I fell into the Fat Club one year when I came back from the All-Star break, 4 pounds heavy. I didn't have the genetic makeup of Chris Kreider. If I looked at a hamburger, I gained a couple pounds. So is there anybody that you're looking at on the roster that you got to watch a little bit closely?
There's some guys that come to mind. I don't know if I want to call them out here on TV.
This is really where you have to watch your answer.
There are definitely players that, when this thing kept going on and on and on as a staff and, my conversation.
Give a few more phone calls, right? Just check a little more often.
Top of them. How's that slide board doing and things like that. So, again, you've been around a long time, Steve. You know that every team has the guys that, just maybe don't have it. The genetic gift where they can do kind of whatever they want. They're going to get away with it. And there are guys that, have to measure everything they eat and drink. And so we have those guys, and they're certainly on all of our minds.
That was me. I have a 24-inch vertical. I'm the only 6'6" guy that never dunked a basketball.
They're not asking you to jump when you're standing in the crease, so good for you.
Right. I had a good standing broad jump.
That's it. That's good.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit here, Coach. This team all season long, it seemed like they defied expectations. They never really seemed to let the magnitude of any situation really get to them. Whether it was, okay, you guys really got to fight here if you want a chance to be in the playoffs, or you're going to go on this 9-game winning road streak and set a record for the franchise. All of these things kind of never seem to really faze them. We call it kind of like a youthful innocence. So my question is, could this youthful innocence be an advantage for them when it comes to just adapting to, once again, this crazy, never before seen kind of style of play that you're going to enter into?
Yeah, that's a good point, Michelle. I think that will be beneficial to a certain extent for us. And, the thing I also think is going to be very beneficial is the way our season evolved. I mean, in essence, we were playing playoff hockey the last 6 weeks of the season before we had to stop, just because of the situation we were in going into the new year. And, you think about the games down on the island. I mean, that first game down in Long Island was true playoff atmosphere. And I remember talking to, Stalzy about that and Panarin. Panarin said, that game felt like a lot of playoff games and even more intense with the atmosphere. So our guys have been exposed to, none of no crowds, but our guys have been exposed to high pressure hockey.
The emotions of it, exactly.
Emotions of it, the magnitude of a game that, live, do or die. And, they've passed the test in a lot of situations. So, but this test will be unlike any other.
Are you thinking at all about bringing somebody in to talk to the team? I know that, I've been in the locker room. We've had sports psychologists, sometimes a guest speaker. If you're really hurting for help, I do it oftentimes.
Allie's available if you're looking for someone.
Just bring in Jay Valvoski to set the vibe before you
That's
guys
right. Well, with the situation we're in, we're very limited to who can come in and out of the training center.
Right.
Even if I did want to bring someone, I don't think I can get it done. But, I've never done that. It's funny. I've never done that. I've always thought about doing it. I've never done it. It's something that
collegiate hockey, Quinny?
What's that?
Even in collegiate hockey?
No, I never did. No. I would show video stuff of guys talking, but I never physically brought somebody in. I know Jerry York did it a lot, and I always thought, that's a good idea. And I don't know, maybe because Jerry was doing it at BC. I didn't want to do it at BU. I didn't want to be the copycat. So again, that's something that I think that I have thought about bringing a couple of people in, and it's probably something I'm going to eventually do. I just don't know when I'm going to do it.
All right. So after 10 weeks, if you can believe we've been doing this show now for 10 weeks, which is crazy for us, we're at our final defining moments of the season. So we're hoping that you're going to have a few more once we start playing games again that you can break down for us. But you kind of just alluded to it with the last 6 weeks of hockey. You said you were playing playoff hockey, specifically those last 2 games before the stoppage, back-to-back road games. You really had a solid win against Dallas in Dallas. And then you go to Colorado, which was one of the top teams in the conference at the time. You play them toe-to-toe. Bucci scores a goal in the final seconds to tie. You lose the game in OT, but you get 3 out of 4 points in those last 2 games. And that was the last time you saw your team play. So what impressed you the most just heading into the stoppage?
Yeah, that Dallas game really jumped out at me. You're going down on that West Coast trip, which is never easy. Dallas is a really good team. But just not only the fact that we won, but the way we won. I mean, just from the get-go, just really, we score early. Fox scores a goal. I think it's 19 seconds into the game, and we just never stop. We get up 4-0. They get a power play goal early in the third. But I just love the way we played. I loved our approach. We were playing the right way when we were up 4-0. Even when they closed to make it, I think they made it 4-2. I can't remember, but we just kept playing, and I think we're in that mindset. And when swagger is a hard thing to acquire. There's such a fine line between swagger and arrogance. And, swagger to me is when you do A, B, and C as a group. When okay, if we do A, B, and C, we have a great chance to win hockey games. That's when you've got swagger. Arrogance is assuming you're going to do A, B, and C. Swagger is knowing you have to do it. And I think we got to that point. And, then we go to Colorado and, back to back. I mean, you get in late in Colorado. It's not an easy trip. The altitude, all the external things that you're dealing with. And then, vividly remember the NBA canceling their season or pausing their season right before we're about to go on the ice for warmups. Yeah. I think everybody knew it was about to follow. So it was an eerie feeling going into that game. But, to get 3 out of 4 points, our guys were excited about our next challenge, which is going to Phoenix to play Phoenix before that trip ended. I think they were also excited about the 2 days off in between. But, we were in a really good spot. And our challenge and our goal is to get back to that point from a mental standpoint.
All right, great stuff. Coming up, we're headed to the Rangers film room where, Coach, you're going to break down the highly potent power play. That's all coming up when Home Ice with David Quinn returns. Welcome back to Home Ice with David Quinn. I'm Michelle Gingras, and having a man advantage has certainly been an advantage for the Rangers this year. Their surging power play propelled them to the top scoring team in the NHL over the last 2 months of the season. For more on the many facets of the Blue Shirts power play, Coach Quinn takes us into the Rangers film room, orchestrated by Lenovo and CDW, people who get it.
You're going to see some things here that make our power play so unique in so many ways, and it's been a pivotal factor in us having the success we've had throughout the season. The first clip you're going to see here is our power play breakout. Tony comes up the ice. Everybody runs their routes. It's a one-man drop to Panarin, and we walk in the zone. Makes a great play over to Buchnevich, and we settle it down into our own end. Here's our other unit. Trouba takes it up ice. This is a two-man drop where we get it to Hedl and Capo coming through the neutral zone. And you see where Hedl is. Great spacing between Hedl. He kicks it out to Lemieux, and he goes right to the net. Here's a really unique situation here where we've got Panarin, Buchnevich, and Zibanejad coming up the ice. Some of the things that we do during the course of a season is, depending on other teams' forechecks, is we alter our breakouts. And we went from the one-man that you saw earlier to a three-man breakout here with Panarin, Buchnevich, and Zibanejad, and we end up walking up ice. It was a set play. We looked for the one-man drop to Panarin. You see Panarin dropping behind Tony. But with Kreider's speed, every now and then we throw this play at him when we ice it. Kreider beats him up ice, and we get a pivotal goal. Here's a great view of it. You see Howden filling the left lane, and he clears that lane for Kreider by coming to the middle. DeAngelo makes a great read with that cross-corner dump that could have been an icing, but with Kreider's speed, we exploit the New Jersey defense, and a great pivotal goal to make it 3-1. In zone, nothing like timely goals on the power play. A third period here against Columbus. In a 1-1 game late in the season, we're trying to make a playoff push. Panarin makes a pass to Fox, and look at the poise by Fox. He makes an incredible pass down to Mika. Kreider finds the hole, and a huge game-winning goal on the road in Columbus late in the period. Your power play has to score timely goals. You can be the 7th best power play in the league, but it's got to be timely goals. some of the things that we like to do in zone. 2-1 hockey game in the island, third period. We got our regular setup here with Tony, Strome, Mika in the middle, and Brett on his offside. But the Islanders are doing a good job on this penalty kill, kind of taking all our options away. We got Kreider at the net. This is our normal look. We try a cross pass seam to Strome. They sniffing out. We get the power play late in the third period. It's 2-2, 30 seconds to go. David Oliver makes a great adjustment here. You can see what happens here. We end up getting set up, and you can see Komarov there. I'll rewind this a little bit. He's looking for Panarin. Panarin's usually been on his offside in this game. Instead, we switch him and Strome. One-time shot by Mika. Kreider scores a goal with 24 seconds left.
Now back with Steve Valiquette and Rangers head coach David Quinn. And coach, as we could just see from that breakdown, your team does a lot of things well on the power play. And we know obviously the whole idea of the power play is wanting to spend as much time as possible inside the offensive zone. Your team does a very good job of that. But I'm curious about the other elements that they do well: the stick handling, the puck retrieval, controlling the puck in small areas. How does that set them apart? And how important are those other elements to just an overall successful power play unit?
Well, the first thing you need to have a great power play is have great players, and we've checked that box with both of our units. So, we could sit here and draw up all the fancy breakouts and all the concepts we want in zone, but if you don't have really good players, you're not going to have a good power play. It's just the bottom line. Talent wins out on a power play, and we've got a lot of talent on our power play units. The one thing that I really have loved, as you saw in the power play clips, was the fact that we're not very predictable. I love the fact that guys go to different positions. We do have a set look that we want with both units, but our guys have the freedom to kind of change spots, and whether it be Kreider from the net front up into the bumper position, or Panarin going from the left side to the right side, or Mika going from the bumper position to the goal line. Having that unpredictability really goes a long way, and when you add the talent with the unpredictability, I think you have a chance to have a really good power play.
Quinny, with the NHL blocking shots as frequently as they do, and shot lanes being blocked by players on the penalty kill, you've played defense. You know what it looks like when you're peeling the puck off the wall and you're sliding across the blue line. Is there anything specifically you tell your point man on the power play to look for to get pucks through?
Well, they've got to get to the middle of the rink quicker, especially when they're coming from the wall. Those 3 hard strides back to the middle of the rink are pivotal. You want to own the middle of the rink, and if you can get there, you're going to have a much better chance to get that puck through. Sometimes you got to get through 2 layers, and that does make it difficult. But the ability to have that head up and find that quick, it doesn't have to be hard. You got to get it by people, and too often people are so consumed with how hard it is, or how the booming slap shot. In this day and age, it's hard to do unless it's a one-timer. So the ability to get to the middle of the rink, get on the right side of the forward who's trying to block the shot, will create that shooting and passing lane for yourself. And that's something that, Tony does really well, Trouba does well, Foxy does well. Those guys do a good job of that up top.
I was also wondering about, just on the analytics side, I looked this morning about the guys that are on the points getting it through most often, and it's Brent Burns, Quinn Hughes, Doughty, Carlson. Maybe not this example, but do you use players from around the league to help your players, whether it's getting it in from the point or other parts of the game? Do you do that as well?
Yeah, I think it's beneficial when you do, look around the league and see what guys are really good at. I don't think it hurts to kind of use them as an example to help a guy maybe improve himself a little bit. And, whether it's a power play or, D-zone stuff or face-offs in particular, I think guys can learn from each other at this level. And I think our guys do. I think our guys do a good job, even on their own, paying attention to what other guys are doing.
So question for you then, Coach. You mentioned that your unit already has best players. That's the most important part. I'm curious, and this just isn't on your team, but since you were born, essentially, who's the best point man that you've seen in that power play position, and what has kind of helped them stand out?
Oof. There's been a lot of great power play defensemen. You just mentioned a few of them, Valley, in our league right now. Some of the things that these guys do this day and age on the power play, because, the power play, blocking shots and the pressure and the stick positioning has changed so much in the last 15 years. I think the modern day NHL defensemen, the elite power play guys at our level, what they have to do in order to be effective from a power play standpoint really speaks to their level of talent, because it's not, it's more difficult this day and age. That being said, and again, I know I'm probably impartial to him. I mean, Brian Leach was as good a power play defenseman as ever been in the National Hockey League. And, the underrated part about Leachy was his skating, and not just up and down the ice, but his edge work and how quickly he went from, how quickly he covered 3 feet of ice. And he always did it with his head up. He's a great athlete. But guys like that, I mean, they're hard to find. And when you have them, we're fortunate. We have a few of them. When you're fortunate to have a defenseman like that who can quarterback a power play like Tony, like Foxy, I mean, you get a chance to have a really good power play. And that's why we're, one of the top power play units in the league.
Coach, we've talked a lot on the show about building successful pairings and finding success around those pairings. And obviously a few standouts on your team with Mika, Chris Kreider, Ryan Strome, Artemi Panarin. But then as the season progressed, it seemed like you may have found something in Filip Chytil and Kaapo Kakko. So let's focus a bit on Chytil. He's got a plethora of skill at such a young age, so much potential. As a coaching staff, how are you working to continue to refine that skill and help him to continue to be a consistent player on your team?
But watching Phil's growth defensively and his attention to detail and the things that talented players like him have never really had to do. I mean, whenever Phil Chytil was first 12, 13 years of his hockey career, he always had the puck. So why would he have to play defense? And all of a sudden you ask a kid to, step in the National Hockey League and it's a whole different game. And, the fact that he learned as quickly as he did, that he went through an experience of getting sent down and, didn't feel sorry for himself. He went down there and played great in Hartford. His call-up was certainly warranted. We probably left him down there a little longer than deserved because we wanted to make sure he understood the situation. And, he's going to be a great player. And he's going to be 21 in September. So we need to keep that in mind. He's been, he's just finished part of his 3rd season in the National Hockey League. He's not even 21 yet. So, I always say that we all have to keep in mind their age.
All right, very good. So we've had some great questions asked by fans on the show so far. So coming up, when we come back, we'll head to Twitter to see what you've got for the coach this week when Home Ice with David Quinn returns. Welcome back to Home Ice with David Quinn. I'm Michelle Gingras alongside Steve Valiquette and Rangers head coach David Quinn. And like we do each week, it's time to head to Twitter to get your questions answered. And first up, we have @Zach4B, who wants to know, what is the best piece of advice you've gotten from a player since taking over the Rangers bench?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Obviously I was fortunate to know a bunch of the guys when I took over, but one of the things that, whether it be Kevin Shattenkirk or Chris Kreider or, Kevin Hayes or guys like that, just be yourself. And, I was fortunate enough to have already coached in the National Hockey League, so I had a pretty good idea of what I was getting into. Certainly not being the head coach of the New York Rangers. It's a completely different animal, but, at the end of the day, it's still hockey at the NHL level. And, just be true to yourself. That's all you can do as a coach. You can't be anybody else. You have to be true to yourself.
So true. I got really good advice on the TV side from EJ Raddick, Michelle. He said to me before our first show, Valley, you're going to hit turbulence. You have to learn how to fly through it.
That's
a lot like coaching.
That's great advice.
So mine, Quinn, here is from @rstern33. How have the events of the past few months changed the way that you will coach in the future?
I think during this time, we all kind of do a lot of self-evaluating, and I think we're always trying to improve and we're always trying to get better. And there are so many things in my mind that I know I need to do a better job at, and I don't need to air them all out now, but we don't have enough time to air all the things I want to do better. But, to me, just constantly, understanding that it's about the player, and, you can't, you owe the player the truth. You owe it in a manner where they can understand it and respect it. And, just again, continue to have the pulse of the team. I think that's very important for a coach. And I try to spend time around them, not too much time because I need to give them their space. But, I do like walking through the training room, spending about 5 minutes there. I like walking through the weight room, spending 5 minutes there, because I think daily you need to have the pulse of the team. And I think, if you're going to have success as a coach, I think there's nothing more important than having the pulse of your team.
Absolutely. All right, so to wrap this one up, Danny Delaney 92 wants to know, what is your go-to pregame song if you have one?
Oof, go-to pregame song. I
What are you
don't have.
listening to on the car ride to the game, getting pumped up? What do you got going on?
I get to walk to the game.
Oh, so that's your buzzer in there.
Is there like an artist you favor, Ethan?
You know what? You know who gets me fired up? Eminem.
Yeah,
Eminem?
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm telling you, that
Yeah.
guy is as talented an artist as there has ever been. How's
That is awesome.
Yep.
That is
For
awesome.
every game. Yep.
Any favorites or just in general? He's
Just in general, just love his passion, and he gets me pretty wound up.
You know what my favorite song from him is? Cinderella Man.
That's a good one.
That's a
I
great
think
one.
that one. If I was playing right now, that would be in
That's
my
a great
ear
one.
before the game.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
All right. We learn a new thing every week. That's
Yeah.
awesome. We hope everyone has a very safe 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you back right here next week when Home Ice with David Quinn returns.